Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Mackenzie Allen Charmley. Thank you for joining us. Governor Doug Ducey toured a school today to highlight the different types of schools available here in Arizona for School Choice Week. At the Arizona Autism Charter School in Phoenix, Governor Ducey visited classrooms and spoke with teachers and staff about how they teach and what's special about this school. The K-12 school teaches children on the autism spectrum. They offer both in-person and online instruction. Governor Ducey believes access to specialized schools like this is a huge draw for Arizona.
Oftentimes a parent that is in that situation was in a place where they couldn't find somewhere where their child could thrive. Now we have people that are packing up U-Haul trucks and moving from Illinois and other states to come to Arizona because this school so serves that population. It so accommodates those parents.
Throughout his administration, Governor Ducey has supported initiatives that encourage school choice. Critics say many of these programs take money away from public schools, but the governor included school choice in his State of the State address this year, saying he wants to expand school choice any way we can. Governor Doug Ducey is suing the Biden administration. At issue, the Treasury Department threatening to take back some of the $4.2 billion in pandemic relief funds that Arizona has received. The Treasury Department said that 2 of Ducey's programs that help schools and students avoid mask mandates are misusing the federal relief money. Ducey filed the lawsuit in Phoenix federal court Friday, saying the Biden administration is attempting to hold congressionally appropriated funds hostage and is trying to bully Arizona into complying with this power-grabbing move. Arizona Democratic Party leaders voted to censure Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema after she blocked voting rights legislation. Over the weekend, the state committee passed a resolution that encouraged action to be taken by the ADP if Sinema decided to protect the filibuster, which led to the voting rights legislation being blocked. An executive board meeting was held shortly after Sinema made the decision, resulting in a statement released by ADP Chair Raquel Taran. It reads in part, "While we take no pleasure in this announcement, the ADP Executive Board has decided to formally censure Senator Sinema as a result of her failure to do whatever it takes to ensure the health of our democracy." The censure symbolizes disapproval for the senator who just 3 years ago brought the Democratic Party a Senate seat for the first time in a generation. Arizonans were among the abortion opponents who gathered in Washington Friday for the annual March for Life, a rally held every year on the anniversary of the Supreme Court ruling that recognized a right to an abortion. But marchers have a new optimism this year, as Cronkite News reporter Alexia Stanbridge reports from our Washington bureau.
The mood at this year's March for Life has been upbeat, with most marchers predicting the Supreme Court will overturn Roe v. Wade, a decision anti-abortion activists have been waiting for almost 50 years.
I think the fact that it's able to be reconsidered is very important, and I think it's a great win so far.
John Ayola and other Ville de Marie Academy students traded the sun and warm weather of Scottsdale for below freezing temperatures in Washington. Ayola said the trade-off was well worth it.
I never understood the scale of this, and now being here, I just had this overwhelming feeling of just love and just being here, and it was really exciting to see.
Ville de Marie Jr. John Fowler said they were excited to join the thousands here to, quote, protect life.
I mean, the energy is pretty hype. It's actually really cool. Everyone's super excited to be here.
Counter-protesters were not in evidence, but not everyone at the rally agreed with the marchers.
We kind of stuck around today just because we wanted to see what's going on.
Majowski and her friend Jack Anderson support abortion rights. They said they came out to discuss their beliefs with the marchers, but didn't find any takers.
There doesn't seem to be much room for any sort of discussion, which I think is fascinating. Hopefully that can change in the future. I think it's probably unlikely.
The discussion could change radically in the near future, as the Supreme Court is currently considering restrictive abortion laws from Mississippi and Texas. With a new conservative majority on the court, observers like Arizona State University grad Chris Cottrell are looking forward to the possible end of Roe.
I do think Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned or limited a lot this year, but the fight for life doesn't end after Roe.
Even if the court rules in their favor, some of the marchers said they could be back here next year to continue the fight. In Washington, Alexia Stambridge, Cronkite News.
Even before the court rules, Arizona lawmakers have introduced bills patterned after the Mississippi and Texas laws. Many expect that state legislatures will be the next battleground in the abortion fight. Arizona has the second highest COVID-19 death rate in this country, according to data collected by the CDC. The state's per capita death rate is 350 per 100,000 people, following Mississippi at 360 deaths. 25,624 Arizonans have died due to COVID-19 complications. The state is on track to have the highest death rate, as it has climbed 20% since November, according to CDC data. Maricopa County has the second highest number of deaths in all counties, according to Johns Hopkins University. As COVID-19 cases continue to rise in the state, officials at U Arizona are warning residents about the best way to seek medical care. The Arizona Department of Health Services reports more than 14,700 new cases and 1 death today. In a briefing today, Dr. Richard Carmona, who is a former U.S. Surgeon General and current senior public health advisor in Arizona, says the healthcare system in the state is struggling. He urges anyone who can to refrain from going to the emergency room or urgent care and instead use alternative communication methods.
If you can, go on one of these call lines, ask a nurse, ask a doc, use telemedicine, because each of you who show up that don't have anything critical are taking staff away from those who need it, and we really are understaffed across the whole state. Every health system in the state is struggling with this.
Dr. Carmona says using telemedicine or other ways of communicating with health providers will also protect individuals from going out and exposing themselves if them or others are sick. In just over a year from now, Arizona will host Super Bowl 57 at State Farm Stadium on February 12th. Arizona is one of 5 locations to host the Super Bowl for the 4th time. The planning has already begun. The Arizona Super Bowl Committee and Governor Doug Ducey were on hand this morning to unveil the committee's new logo. The governor expects Super Bowl 57 to be even bigger and better than when Phoenix hosted the event back in 2015.
We're on a trajectory to attract more viewers, bring more people into our state, and another boost to our already booming economy.
Former Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald was named as an executive chair and will take part in the NFL handoff ceremony after this year's Super Bowl concludes in Los Angeles. And now a look back at some of our top stories concerning kids and finances.
A 529 plan is a special investment account specifically for education expenses. The state of Arizona recently increased the income tax incentives for contributions to these accounts. Cronkite News reporter Rob Winder explains how people saving for college can now benefit from this change.
Several years ago, Phoenix resident Mara Linder's work as a divorce mediator prompted her to make a change for her own family.
I'd been doing divorce mediation for a couple years at that point and was getting deeply into people's finances and realized that nobody was saving for the future and definitely not saving for their kids.
With the encouragement of her financial advisor, Linder opened 2 529 savings accounts to help fund the future higher education expenses of her twin daughters, who already have high aspirations.
One loves anything to do with culinary, anything, and she's little Martha Stewart. She's always cooking and presenting and decorating, and she's talked about going to culinary school. The other one has been designing fashion since she's little and has talked about Fashion Institute, but just recently saw Legally Blonde, so she wants to get her fashion degree and then go to Harvard Law.
Even if those plans change, Linder can use the money from her daughter's 529 accounts to support just about anything they want to do.
These 529s are not just for traditional college and university. It's for any type of higher education needs, like vocational training, apprenticeship programs, workforce development.
And the state of Arizona just increased the incentives for Linder to save for her daughter's educations. Previously, residents could deduct up to $2,000 from their state income taxes for all 529 contributions made in a year. And for couples filing jointly, that maximum deduction was $4,000. But now, taxpayers can deduct those amounts for each 529 plan they contribute to in a year.
That's a great advantage for me.
That advantage comes in addition to the shelter these plans provide against the capital gains tax. In normal investment accounts, the capital gains tax will eat away some of the returns on your investments. But in a 529 plan, if that money is used on educational expenses like tuition and textbooks, the capital gains tax can't touch it. Wealth advisor Jay Spector says that remains the primary benefit of a 529 plan, not the increased deduction.
It's still a relatively small deduction, and that alone is not going to encourage someone to save for college through this investment vehicle. It's certainly one carrot that families can use towards contributing.
But Linder, who always itemizes deductions on her tax returns, intends to reap the benefit of that carrot.
I would definitely want to meet that maximum and take full advantage of the deduction, for sure, why not?
In Phoenix, Rob Winder, Cronkite News.
Children's shelters are completely full while the number of foster parents available is decreasing, according to authorities. Cronkite News reporter Milan Andrade explains the trend in the latest foster care numbers and what this means.
As of September 2021, there are 13,813 kids currently in foster care, and on average, about 30 kids per day. Children are back to school. And according to Chris Jacober of Arizona Friends of Foster Care Foundation, this is essential to detect abuse.
The biggest group they're called mandated reporters. So that's people who have their eyes on children and figure out who needs help, is teachers. And kids have not been in classrooms. So teachers have not had their eyes on children for a very long time.
Children's shelters are completely full, according to the Department of Child Safety. However, this is not a result of more kids in care since schools have opened. Rather, experts explain COVID-19 has decreased the amount of foster parents, resulting in full shelters.
The licensing process, there's a lot of people in and out of your home. There's a lot of work to be done during that process, and also just the thought of bringing kids into their home that they didn't know that were potentially going to school, that could bring back germs, and going to their visits with their bio parents.
DCS is turning to new outlets to get their message out. One Facebook post a month into the school year asked foster parents to open up their homes to more kids.
And this is really unusual. The director went right to the families to say, can you take one more child?
According to the DCS Facebook post, foster homes are needed for sibling sets, teens, and boys and girls ages 2 to 17. In Phoenix, Milan Andrade, Cronkite News.
Even in a normal year, few parents would say that toy shopping is their favorite part of the holiday season. But this year's global shipping crisis has made the annual hunt for that perfect gift especially challenging. Cronkite News' Rob Winder reports on how one local business is adapting to help Santa get the job done.
I'm here at Wildlings Toy Boutique in Phoenix, which just opened its doors this past August, giving Phoenix residents an alternative to buying toys either online or at the big box stores. And while it's kind of a crazy time to open a business right now, the owner says the community has embraced her.
That looks cool.
It does.
There's another one. Look at that one.
A lot of times for my 4-year-old and 6-year-old, I'm looking for things that are a little bit more unique than something you would find at a larger box store, and they definitely offer that.
Jennifer Mossonet, the owner of Wildlings Toy Boutique, says she opened at a time when the community was anxious to support small businesses again. But it's also a challenge because of ongoing issues with the global supply chain.
We typically are able to order all of the toys we want starting in October and have them here ready for holiday shopping and not have issues getting them in. That is just radically different this year.
Mossonet says she's been able to keep her shelves stocked by ordering early, ordering often, and ordering a wider variety of product, which Steve Passerb of the Toy Association says is an advantage for local businesses.
Well, small retailers are incredibly nimble, and they've been finding new vendors, new products, new alternatives to try to keep their stores open, and that's been really great.
But most of the toy brands at Wildlings are not household names like Hasbro or Mattel. And those suppliers face numerous hurdles in getting their product to store shelves and front porches. From understaffed warehouses to a shortage of truck drivers to exploding rates for shipping containers.
If you're a small company and your shipping container went from being $3,000 to $25,000 plus additional fees, you've just erased your profit in some categories.
Passerb says those higher rates for shipping containers also impact which types of toys reach store shelves.
What toy companies have been doing is looking at an average shipping container and say, do I ship the very large, low margin products, or do I ship the smaller sized, high margin products? Tonka trucks, for example, they're heavy, they take up a lot of room in the shipping container. That company has decided to bring in less this holiday season.
Mossenet says a recent shipment of toy trucks she received contained only about half of what she ordered.
There is definitely a delay in getting all of the inventory in of those great big items that we want to see in the store.
But Mossenet says for her store, all these shipping troubles actually have an upside too.
Big box stores, I'm hearing their shelves are a little bit more empty than normal. So I think in some ways it's been good for our small local business because people are coming to us looking for toys that they can't find at other places.
And customers who come to Wildlings won't find a shortage of friendly service and a passion for play. Now, Mossenet says another shipment of trucks just came in, and they are pretty well stocked now. But she tells her customers that if they see a truck, tractor, or any other toy on the shelf that they like, they need to buy it now because it may not be there the next time they come. In Phoenix, Rob Winder, Cronkite News.
The holiday season is always a time to help those less fortunate. Cronkite News reporter Andrea Aguilera tells us how the Phoenix Rising recently assisted others by giving back to the community.
The Phoenix Rising partnered with State 48 Foundation and United Food Bank with one goal: to beat the Arizona Cardinals record for most emergency food bags packed in a single event.
These food bags are going to restock our shelves, especially now for the holidays coming up, so we can get food to people that need it most. The holidays have really increased with food need amongst the community of Arizona.
It's the first time that the three organizations work together.
We're a new foundation. Our major focus is building out entrepreneurship programming to help startups across the valley, along with doing community impact events like this, where we do really large volunteer-based events.
I think it's important that we try and take steps to stopping this world hunger. It's a great event, great charity event, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
The event beat the record of 5,000 bags packed and will help provide 43,500 meals.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Break It Down is brought to you in part by Mayo Clinic and viewers like you.
Billy Bean, thank you for breaking down for us the meaning of Carl Nassib coming out not as the first player, but as first active player in the NFL as gay. Billy, welcome to the show. What does this mean? Where does this place us in our timeline of progress and inclusion?
I think it's very interesting because for those of us like you and myself who live in the sports world and have been around it for quite a while, understand that representation is so vital and for a player and an athlete, and this is something where I have always tried to keep my goal focused on creating a culture of acceptance around the athletes from leadership, top leadership down, as opposed to waiting for one athlete to carry that burden of the message because they were brave enough to invite the universe and the world into their personal life.
I tell you, Billy, what's interesting about that, and just as you're saying, I'm thinking about the line that he said in his announcement, I've been meaning to do this for a while.
Right.
It really struck me that he'd been meaning to do it for a while, but what you're saying.
Well, he actually said, I have been meaning to do this for the past 15 years. I've been agonizing over this. And you think he's a 25-year-old man, so he is someone who has known his true self, some of us in the LGBTQ plus community, it takes us a while to get it. That was my story. I was raised in a very conservative military environment and oldest of 5 in the big leagues at 22. And my only influence I had were baseball players and sports figures. So for Carl to say that, and then, you peel back a little of his history and you see that he walked on at Penn State, and then he leaves Penn State as a unanimous All-America defensive end, Lombardi Trophy winner, Ted Hendricks Award winner. And then there's an award called the Burlsworth Trophy for the best player Division I NCAA football that walked on. Right. And then he's in the NFL now this is going to be his 6th year, I believe. He was drafted in 2015. And now he is in a wonderful contract. From pro sports standards, it's modestly amazing. It would be something that I never saw, but for him
I'll take the money. No.
Exactly. But I think it's a thoughtful decision because, and really a great example to illuminate what athletes are subjected to, which is the uncertainty of their futures, and him finally being in a moment, all the while knowing he's still only 25 years old, that he is inviting the world in as an active player. And as well as I do, for any player, the most important priority is for your teammates and your league, your opponents, to respect you and to believe that you belong in that room, right?
And Billy, that reminds me, in your book, Going the Other Way, I remember wasn't a subtitle, but the real theme of the book was my life as a closeted athlete, which is completely counter to this moment.
Right.
I just wonder how you reflect on that. And I know times were different. Any thought of the impact if you had come out while playing? I mean, and we're not going to try to measure who's.
But listen, I think that Carl is a example of someone who has benefited from Jason Collins and Michael Sam. For me, I wasn't equipped. There was the outside. This is what I talk about, representation and the messaging and leadership and culture. It was okay to bash gay men, right, left. No one batted an eyelash or raised an eyebrow when a manager called another umpire an F-bomb, or an opposing player, or if a player, wasn't tough enough, got hit by a pitch and wanted to come out of the game, or wouldn't suit up and play on Sunday because they've got a twinge in their hamstring or something. You know what I mean? Like, we would feminize each other. So those messages were all around. And for me, I lived in that dark space of fear of what it meant to people like yourself. When I met you, it reminded me immediately of the people that mattered the most to me, that I wanted to prove that, hey, I'm a big leaguer. I worked my life to be in this clubhouse. I don't want to be defined by the messaging that I keep being reminded of. It's the same way that women being sexualized in every message, in pro sports, whether it's scoreboard, comedy, spots between innings, or them flashing a camera on, a specific type of example of woman. It's us learning. And so I wasn't prepared for that. Sarah Tuola wasn't prepared. Dave Kopay wasn't prepared for that. Roy Simmons wasn't prepared for that. Glenn Burke, the first and the only other Major League Baseball player to ever come out in 152 years besides me that played in the big leagues, he was prepared to his own deficit because he was raised in a family where it was okay. Now, I can't wait to have a conversation with Carl and wonder if he's been in a supportive family environment his whole life, and they've been waiting for this moment. My family didn't know when I came out. They didn't know. And so they saw what they wanted to see. And so it's a generation and a sequential kind of the continuum,
the timeline, and your role was, and I know you don't need to hear me say it, was so important in that.
I appreciate that.
The text out there. Let me ask one final question to close out and to try to give everybody a little bit more help in this. I know you and I have had the great pleasure of talking, especially at times like after George Floyd and the like, of just really kind of blunt questions of how should a white guy react to this, or what are the best things I could say. And I'm wondering what we could tell people that do want to be stronger allies to the LGBTQ community at moments like this, when an athlete comes out. What's the right thing to say?
The desire to be perfect in the space immediately is very intimidating for people. And when you talk about being an ally to me starts as someone who has a desire to be a friend with somebody. And a friend asks another friend, how do you feel? And then maybe we can start talking about your lived experience and my perception of that, and be interested in it.
Billy, I think the big takeaway that I would love for people to hear is those conversations aren't going to be perfect, but we have to have them. And
exactly.
We take time to have them. So Billy, thank you for breaking down for us Carl Nassib being the first out gay player active in the National Football League.
It's a big moment. It was a big moment. And it's great to see you, Ken. You guys do great work, and it's a privilege and honor to be a part of your little piece of your show this week. So thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate it.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you. If you have comments about Arizona PBS News, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Thank you.